so far.
All right, let's get
So
you
I hope
set
I'm
up.
ready for this speech right now also. So while we get set up, I'm going to cover probably a lot of the skills that's already been spoken about, but probably maybe not always in the same fashion. I'll be speaking to you today a little bit about where I come from also, and why I've had to use these skills also. So I'm going to share with you something about me as a person and my past, and even what's going on within me now, which might help you to understand where I'm coming from. But it's something I would rarely share. So, but I'm here today to actually share it with you because I think it is relevant to the actual topic at hand also. Oh, sorry, I'm just going to quickly log on the internet too. So it'll just take 30 seconds for me to log on. So I've just got one web page I want to access to.
It's okay, we're used to doing this at the beginning of lectures.
Yeah, I'm normally here waiting for ages for it to actually log on.
You're lucky to get it to log on.
It's sometimes not the easiest. So, most people here probably have not met me in the past. I don't know many faces here, but I do know Kylie's face. Oh, sorry, that was the only person I know, sorry, from here. So, most of you probably don't know me either. So I work at the school site, and I'm a lecturer. Oops, sorry. I'm actually used to having something in my hand. So I'm a lecturer, and I lecture in a topic which you may like, Alan. So I talk about multimedia assets, how they're formed, sounds, images, etc. And I also sit on a few things here also. So often I'm called to basically talk about things, to stand up and to try to sell things even, but to help students out heaps. But I come from a different viewpoint, maybe from some people here, because for me, standing up in front of you, this audience here, is actually, for me, very challenging and very scary, because I suffer from two main fears. Public speaking. I'm not a natural public speaker. I really, because of the secret I'm going to share with you, you'll probably understand why I don't like public speaking. And I don't like looking people eye to eye either. So I've had to work on these techniques actually quite a lot over time. So it may shock you when I'm going to actually share here. I actually stutter, have a very severe stutter, which I can sometimes handle, other times I can't. I really do not know how my speech is going to be word from word, sentence to sentence, day to day, as you saw them. I do not know how to get over this. So I've got to work with this and still speak and still teach. So I stutter, but if I do stutter, please do not be scared. I can sometimes lock up for a long time on one single little bit. I'll be stuck, okay? But it's nothing to worry about. And as I said, it's really hard for me to know what's going to happen when. So you may think, well, hang on, here's a person who hates public speaking, who's not a natural public speaker, and he likes to speak, and I actually normally speak pretty fast too. It's because I use public speaking skills which are common skills which will work for basically everybody. And that's what it comes down to, are these very basic skill sets here. Because I'll share a story with you. I gave a presentation here at our research conference here 2 years ago. Now, it was in front of an audience, a very heavy audience. I'm talking high-ranking staff. I stuttered the worst you've ever seen. As in every single, I was basically just stuttering, stopping for the whole time. And they had to give me, the talk was meant to go for 10 minutes, they had to give me a lot of extra time. Now, I walked away from it. I was a little tiny bit down. I don't normally get, something like that. But I was just a little bit down because there were some heavies there, and I'm thinking, well, I'm in front of all these people, and I didn't sound the best. Guess what happened at the end of the day? Can anyone think? I won an award that day for the best speech, based not so much on how it was said, that is part of it, but it's also the content. And the fact that I was there, I was stuttering, I was having a hard time, but I was smiling, and I wanted to actually be there too, People had taken time to come and see me talk. They wanted to hear what I was actually talking about. So of course I had to respect that also. So that's just some quick facts about stuttering. There's actually quite a lot of us here. Hard to spot us. So now I'll just cover some basic skills which aid me. So I normally arrive early to where I'm going to talk at. I look at the room, I try to understand it, where people will sit, possibly where people may actually even hide. But it gives me a bit of confidence there first about what this room looks like, how it will sound, and what's actually in that room early. So I've got that all preset in my mind, and I feel it's a lot more confident. So that's where it gets into the second dot point, that owning. So you walk into this place, and my mindset alters because I own it. This room is now mine. Yep, it's not yours, it's mine. Now, why would I then feel nervous for? I'm in my house here. I have a right to actually speak. Yeah? Everybody has come to see me. They're quite happy to come to see me, and they want to hear me speak. So this is your venue then. So I invite the audience to actually come in, to actually hear me speak. They're taking the effort to actually come. And I make them feel welcome. And as I said there, it helps you to combat those fears that you may have. It's confidence. It really builds it up strong. And I've presented in front of audiences of hundreds. And I've always felt a little bit nervous, but again, it's my hall. I've welcomed you into it. Yeah. So let's enjoy that experience then. Do your homework. Now, as a lecturer, I'm often talking about this because it's about knowing your target audience and trying to know as much as you can about them pre to your talk. So you know how to actually aim that talk, how to shape content. It even helps you to work out what type of humour to use. And I'll be talking about that later because that's a very hard thing. You can either get it right, get it kind of right, or get it very, very wrong. And it can look bad, sound bad, make you look bad and sound bad. Now, with the audience, of course, you do not want to be talking down to them. You want to be friendly towards them, make them feel that they're valued here, but basically do not look at them. And of course, knowing the target audience also, that'll come up in a few seconds, helps you to work out what to actually wear also and how to speak. Because sometimes I presented in front of an audience which are there to hear facts and figures and want me to wear certain things in a certain way. Other times I've presented in front of audiences where they don't care what I look like and what I basically say and how it's said. They're there not for the same reasons. So knowing your audience is really key. It helps you understand how to get your speech over to them. The next one is something I really enjoy talking about. Authenticity in the speaker. You connect to a speaker who you think is there to aid you to to understand things and to relate the message to you. So the first one's important. Are you coming across as a believable speaker? Do you know what you're talking about? Yep. Are you? Do you give a feeling that you want to actually be there, or not? The second one, are you acting in the interest of the audience? Am I here for my own sake, or am I here for partially your sake? You know, am I here to help you to understand things, to show you things, to explain things? This is what the audience actually looking for here. If you don't hit these marks, they'll walk out the door thinking, "What did I come and hear this person speak? What are they on about?" And I've just wasted my own time and money. The third one, are you a person who keeps their promises also? Again, coming back to that basic feeling of trust. You know, you're trusting the speaker. You're trusting what they're saying, what they're going to be possibly doing for you also. And the fourth one there is to show who you are. So of course, like I am a bit of a person who likes to walk around, here and there. I talk normally at a fast rate. I'm somewhat funny, you know. It's about expressing who you are. The worst speeches I've ever been to, and I'm talking high-class speakers talking about things which have... I was actually at a presentation earlier this year. There was a lady there, polished, like she walks in, hair done, everything. She comes across as a very polished lady. She's talking about research, which is a world breaking stuff. Okay, so I was there. I was all built up for it. I was thinking, this is gonna be awesome. She was a robot. Like, you could tell that she had done this speech maybe 10 times or more in the past. She stood there, motionless, just said, "Yes, we have been working on this, and we know that cancer cells now do this, and we can now do that." And of course, I was instantly put off. I felt undersold actually. I was like, oh, I was really built up for this. But she just had no passion, and herself didn't actually show through. Because when talking to her afterwards, she wasn't the same. She was actually smiling, she was her hands everywhere, but in front of the audience, she was very, very static. And of course, speak to the audience, invite the audience, but do not speak at them. We have lecturers at this uni even who sometimes do this. They basically walk in and say, "I will speak to you, you shut up." And they will basically say, "No, I am here to talk. You do not interrupt me. I am the expert here. You do what you're told." Well, that's not the right way, is it? We want to be inviting, friendly. We want feedback. We want people to actually raise their hands, and to interact more. Enjoy yourself. This is the one which I like. I enjoy myself speaking, even though I shouldn't in some form. I try to shy away from these things sometimes, but I do because I'm prepped for it. I would not have said yes to coming here if I did not want to come here. I want to share these things and talk to others about these things and smiling, look happy. Hard for some people. Some people it's just not them. But at least have a slight smirk. It helps out everything. But of course, don't smile too much and at one audience member only, because it's a bit freaky. You get some people, and the speaker will be focusing. Actually, I was at a presentation only 2 weeks ago, and that was from a high-ranking member here, and they were focusing on 2 people in the whole audience only, just going backwards and forwards and smiling. Now, those 2 people, I was actually one of them. So when he's focused on me, I'm like nodding. When he's not, it's like that. But they were focusing on 2 people only, and he was smiling, so I had to look like I was constantly active too. But it's actually freaky, if you're focusing only on 1 or 2 only. You've got to be smiling at everybody, looking happy to everybody. But the thing is, be happy out there. And I know that's really hard. And that's coming from the audience's perspective. So you've got to place yourself into the audience's seat and try to think what they're actually seeing from you being up in front speaking. That comes from my stuttering also, where I teach people, other people who stutter, when they say, oh, I don't want to walk into the shop because last time I was in the shop, this happened, and everybody hates me. But you say to yourself, no, put yourself in the seat of the people in the shop and the person serving you, and understand that before you understand everything else. And then they say, actually, things weren't that bad, and I should have done this, and I didn't do this, etc. But place yourself in the audience's perspective all the time. Again, avoid standing and being like a robot only. It's very boring, it's very static, especially with no tone or expression and just standing still. Not showing any passion. Very, very big error. Very big error. I've seen research students, and this might assist some people here, research students doing their confirmation, not showing any passion at all. Now, if I was slightly higher up in the ranks, I would say if you don't show passion there, you do not go higher. You're meant to be expressive about what you're going to research and find and do, and not just stand there and say, I will do this and it's really good. You'd be saying, this research I'm doing is, this good, and it's going to find this and it's going to help to do this. You want to be expressive, not a robot. And nobody likes robots. Eye contact. Now, in a conversation, one-to-one, what do people like? You like talking to a person who looks into your eyes, yeah? Be male, female, for whatever purpose. What do people think you get from eye contact? What does that tell you about the person you're talking to?
Very interesting.
Interested, and something else? Which is sort of a little bit, you can maybe trust them also, because they're not trying to shy away from you. But yeah, they're deeply interested in you. And that's what you want to get across to your audience also. You're interested in them. But also, you're scanning them to see, maybe if you're talking about something, maybe some people don't understand things also. You're looking at the eyes and the faces and their expressions. And that helps heaps also. I was teaching this morning, and I was talking about certain things, and I scanned the audience, and I was realising a section of them just weren't understanding things. So then I have to go back a bit, re-explain things, but I could tell because they looked, it was like, thing. So, from that pure me looking at their faces and their eyes, I can understand a lot about the audience fairly fast. Again, he says, so you're scanning the audience and you're looking for their feedback, positive, negative, or even neutral, to then alter how perhaps you're actually expressing things yourself. Again, I tend to talk a little bit fast. So again, iRobot. Energy levels are one that I'm not major on myself because I don't know how to really teach this, but I can express this to you. So, audience levels are, energy levels are one that some people may want to work on. Some people are majorly hyper, others are the opposite. They're majorly sort of restrictive with their energy. I think the thing is to try to maintain it throughout your speech somewhat. But don't go sort of too hyper and don't go too low either. Just to keep it at somewhat of the constant rate, maybe just going up and down a little bit, but keep it somewhat consistent. And this is a hard thing to teach because it really comes through you getting up there and talking and being expressive and having fun there. But you think a person gets up on stage and they're perhaps a little bit too hyper, it maybe looks a little bit odd. You think, this guy's a little bit crazy, he's a bit funny. But again, they might be passionate, it might be their way of expressing things. But again, you might just want to possibly tone it down just a little bit, just a little bit. And the same is also when you've got no energy there whatsoever, just doesn't come across well. And emotion leads to you remembering things. So the more emotion you show in a controlled, relevant fashion, the audience will take more away from that also. They'll say, oh yeah, I remember that speech and that guy was really passionate about this. He spoke a lot about this area here. They will be remembering those moments through your expression, excitement, passion. Encourage participation as much as possible also. Again, it depends on who you're talking to and what they're used to even maybe. Sometimes you might want them to do things perhaps they don't want to, or perhaps they're outside what they're used to actually doing. But I would be encouraging this in some fashion. Maybe feedback, maybe stopping and starting every so often, but you'd be encouraging the audience to be part of your talk in some way. You might say a story, then you might ask others for maybe some stories too, which are relevant. Encourage and also value questions. So of course, I want to hear feedback. I want to be able to try to answer perhaps anything you may not have clearly understood, but I also want to hear your feedback. Maybe you could teach me things also. It's a very important technique. And at the end there, if you don't know the answer to something, now this is only my view. Some people say, well, fake it, but I would say, if I don't know the answer, I would openly say so. Because maybe somebody in the audience does. Maybe it's a hole in what I'm talking about, but be open and honest. Because the worst thing you could do is ask somebody something and then they just rattle on some half-paced answer there. As in, Machiavellian theory involves the psychology of, Bretner, etc., but it's sort of, they're just making it up. Just openly say, look, I'm sorry, I'm a little bit weak there, I don't really know, but maybe I'll go off and find the answers out, etc., etc. But don't just lie, because some people can spot that pretty quickly too. What happens when we lie? We lose confidence. It goes back to those early dot points. The audience then thinks you're not there talking to them for to benefit them. There's something wrong here. You've suddenly come across as a person who they can't trust, and that's a big loss, very, very big loss. Humour, again, as has been spoken about all day, it's incredibly hard to get right. Even I try to avoid it. Maybe me as a person, I sometimes come across a bit funny, I show different funny things, but even I try to keep it as refinedly safe as possible. It's very hard, because I said you can easily get it wrong, easy to offend, easy to miss the mark, very easy. Like I've seen some very polished speakers used to talking in front of international audiences at times get it wrong. It just falls flat completely. I've also seen, actually, just when it comes to humour and language, I've actually seen some international speakers get up and say words which I would find personally offensive, like the F word. Again, hard to, a very dangerous thing to do, but some of these speakers do get away with it at times, but very risky. So, if you use humour, use safe humour that everybody can practically understand and everybody may find at least funny in some way, and you'll be avoiding certain topic areas. Can people think of some general topic areas that you would avoid? Religion, politics maybe even, and personal sort of bodily function matters and stuff like that, You wouldn't be talking about sex, unless the audience, it actually suited the audience. So I've just got an example here I found on YouTube, which was on TV a few months ago, which I think the guy missed the mark completely. And that's the old Dalai Lama.
As you know, I would share a gag with Dalai Lama because he was in such fine form. I decided that I would tell this gag. Now, it did prove to be not my most successful ever. Check it out. the Dalai Lama walks into a pizza shop.
Close that shop, mate.
Pizza?
Pizza shop,
Yeah,
yes.
pizza shop. And says, "Can you make me one with everything?"
That's nice.
Again,
That's good.
falls completely flat.
Oh,
You know,
yes.
it's probably good
You know what I mean?
for ratings,
Can you make
but
me
he's basically laughing at him too. You know, he doesn't understand it. It's a very,
Oh.
very,
Theoretically possible. Oh.
and he still
Oh,
doesn't
I knew that
understand
wouldn't
anyway. So on national TV, that's actually fallen flat, pretty radically. And that's just like an example there of some sort of picture-based humour I would call fairly safe. Everybody kind of gets it. You can't really offend anyone there, Very, very safe humour. Magazines, certain ones use these type of safe humour, but they really can't offend practically anybody. It'll be pretty hard to. Patronising the audience. So don't simply read the dot points. Students, I did a research study last year on students about how they like to be taught. Number one thing is they hate people reading the dot points and not expanding whatsoever. So they're paid, $4,000 or so to actually come here to hear the person read the dot points. And they wonder why they don't then actually show up week by week. Well, you're not expanding on things, you're not showing passion, you're not expressing yourself. I could do the same thing.
We can
and
do
not
it.
actually show up. Yeah?
We can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the whole point. Why am I actually showing up to hear a speaker just read the dot points for? But that actually happens. So if the audience do, if they can actually read quite well, you would be assuming so and understand. So think value for money. The audience has taken time and cost to actually come to hear you speak. Sometimes paid money to come to your session also. So expand upon points, become a storyteller. Big one is, you're the expert of the subject matter you're talking about, or you should be. And that's why even I don't like people turning up and they'll be standing there and they'll be reading and they'll be looking at slides because it should be here. Like occasionally you may need some help, as in some palm cards or some sort of little things to actually say, yep, on this slide I do have to talk about these 5 points. But all of them, everything that should be coming through because you're the expert about what you're talking about, whether you like it or not. You've been asked to present on a topic that is assumed that you actually know a lot about. Sort of story. Yeah, cool. Yeah, I will rush through. So personal stories and examples again can be pretty powerful if relevant. So don't go off on some tangent. As in, I'm talking about this topic, but then I'm suddenly teaching about this one, or I'm teaching about this topic, but then talking about completely random stuff for a long time, which the audience is then lost and doesn't understand why I needed talking about it for. It's got to make sense, I've seen people do it well, then some people do it not so well, or some people do it well but just go on for maybe too long. Isn't it long, too long? So, and people relate well to real life examples. So you can relate true stories from what you've experienced to what you're trying to actually teach. Helps people to learn and to remember what is being spoken about also. I'm just about finished. The use of multimedia. So I use this a lot because sometimes I might be having a really bad day where I can't say much. So I might talk a little bit and then show it in some other form. Yep. So I'm saying, well, here's a video here. So I'll talk a little bit around it, but then say this the video then expresses a lot more to it about what we've been talking about, and it aids and it helps me to teach. And I think everybody here should use it. But again, it can distract the audience if it's not used right. It's still got to match what's being said in a form that they understand. It must be accessible and basically value add to what you're trying to actually say. It's not there for the sake of it. To basically go look at me. I've made all these videos and they're really cool. It's got to add to what you're trying to express. Now, this is sort of basically the last point I will talk about, is having in mind what will the audience take away from your talk. Because you want them to be taking positive things home. You're wanting them to take home the main points of it, what you've been trying to express. So again, put yourself into the mind of the audience and try to work out afterwards, just like post even, after you've given your talk, so you might think back on it and say, well, what did I talk about well, what did I maybe not talk so well about, but what will the audience take home? And that helps you to focus what you will actually talk about also. It says, and how will they describe you as a speaker? Will they go home and say, I saw this guy and he was really boring and he didn't know what he was actually talking about, or I saw this guy, he was expressive, he knew what he was talking about and I want to see him talk maybe more and more also. So I'm actually finished. Again, any questions, comments, you're welcome to contact me, email, phone me, or come and see me, and welcome to ask me any questions right now. Thank you. I hope I've helped someone. Thank you.
Any questions
Sorry.
for Grant, anyone?
I've got feedback.
Yes, so
Your stuttering actually adds a lot of value to your lectures.
thank you. I've actually we've written two articles about that actually. Yes, how my tone isn't consistent. Sometimes I stop and start, and you've got to focus more so, and different things.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
It certainly draws your attention, which means you've always got the audience's
Yes.
undivided attention,
Yes.
which is
Well,
probably a good thing.
For me, it's just when it gets quite bad, where it's every word. You know,
So would
it's-
you consider that that was a good,
that was
that was a
mild.
good run, was it,
Yeah.
for you?
Yeah, that was actually fairly mild. Very, very mild. Yeah.
How did you teach yourself not to one word?
I don't know. I was always a confident speaker. I came from a family in a I grew up in a small country town where my speech was never raised as a issue ever until I moved out of that town. It was like, suddenly things aren't quite as friendly and safe. But yeah, I was always a confident kid. And I guess I drew the line in the sand too, saying, well, if I want to work here and do these jobs, I've got to speak. I've got to be able to stand up and add things and express things, so I just had to. Yeah. And I like it too.
I wish we all could learn to like it, it's not just you.
It will come in time.
I don't think it ever will. I don't think it ever will.
Grant, thank you so much.
Thank you.